Do you have an older vehicle but don't have a way to connect your phone, tablet or other device to play music or receive calls? In that case, a Bluetooth FM transmitter may be just what you're looking for, and today we're going to be looking at a popular one, the Nulaxy KM30, to see just how good it is and how it stacks up against some of its competition. The KM30 is one of the more expensive FM transmitters we have purchased and tested, even if you get it for a few dollars less like we did. However, it is probably one of the most feature-rich ones as well. Not only can you play music and take and receive calls, but you can also charge up the device via the quick charge port, play music from the micro SD card slot, change up the treble and bass, and more. However, while these features are nice to have, do they justify the extra few dollars for the KM30? And more importantly, how does it sound and is it reliable? Before we dive into that, let's look at what you get in the box. For your $20 to $30 or so, you obviously get the transmitter, a spare audio cable, some instructions, and a warranty card. This card can extend coverage from 6 months up to 24 months, if you register within the first 7 days of purchase. We didn't do this as we didn't receive the transmitter within the cutoff time, but we can report that after owning and using the KM30 for a couple of years now, we have had no issues. The KM30 itself is a bit larger than some of the other FM transmitters we have tried and tested, but it's still a small piece of kit. It features a 180-degree rotatable neck that allows you to reposition the transmitter so the screen can easily be read by the driver or the passenger. This does make it stick out a bit more than some other transmitters, which is definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you live in an area with a lot of break-ins. In total, there are 6 different buttons that allow you to change things like the channel frequency, the song, bass level and treble level. There is also a knob that gives you the ability to adjust the volume, but we found it better to leave the transmitter on max volume and then use the car's audio controls to adjust the volume. On the left side of the transmitter there are 2 USB ports. The orange one is a quick charge port, while the other one can be used to play music off a USB drive. It does offer a little bit of charge, but it's going to take a long time to charge your device. On the right side there is a micro SD card slot, something that isn't that common on these sort of FM transmitters. As we mentioned before, we haven't had any reliability issues, but I imagine that adjustable neck could be an issue with those a bit more heavy-handed. Still, we haven't had an issue, but your mileage may vary. Connecting the KM30 is much the same as any other transmitter, which is to say it's pretty simple. You just plug the transmitter into the cigarette lighter socket of your car, it should then boot up, and then you can match the frequency on the KM30 to an unoccupied frequency on your car's radio. The final step is to pair the KM30 to your phone or Bluetooth device. We didn't have any trouble with this overall, except we did have an issue where it would take quite a while for the KM30 to connect up to our phone when we started the vehicle. This doesn't seem to be an issue anymore, but it did happen with multiple devices, so we don't imagine it was an issue with them. With all that out of the way, let's look at sound quality. Many of these sort of transmitters get a bad rap for their poor sound quality. So how does the KM30 perform? In short, it's not amazing, but it is adequate, and probably at the upper end for FM transmitters. There is definitely a reduction in sound when using the KM30, when you compare it against a normal Bluetooth connection and a cable connection. To give you a bit of an idea of how the KM30 performs, here's a quick comparison of some of the FM transmitters we have tested, along with a normal Bluetooth connection. Obviously sound is a subjective thing, but we think the KM30 and its slightly cheaper sibling, the KM18, are probably the best in terms of sound quality. The C57 is probably the worst of the lot, and we did have another transmitter as well, but it failed to connect for this test. and to be honest, its sound quality was really bad. If we compare just the Nulaxy transmitters, we actually probably think that the KM18 sounds a bit better. It seems to retain a bit more volume and sounds slightly more clear to our ears. However, you can adjust the bass and treble on the KM30. While we did think this was going to be a bit of a gimmick, it does make a difference, and you can clear up the audio slightly by adjusting these settings. When it comes to the interface, there's really not a lot to talk about here. You can do things like repeat a song, repeat all the songs, random play, and a bit more, but there's not too much to it. The volume knob not only lets you control the volume, obviously, but it also lets you pause and restart a song by pressing down on it. The dedicated forward and back arrows let you skip or go back to the previous song, and overall the controls on the transmitter make it a bit more usable than some of the other transmitters we have tested. Call quality, as you can probably guess, is much the same as normal music quality. It's definitely not as good as a normal Bluetooth connection or a wired connection, but it's adequate. The inbuilt mic is alright as well, but to be honest, your smartphone is going to have a better mic on it. One other thing to keep in mind is you can use voice assistants like Google Assistant and Siri through the KM30 for a better hands-free experience. This all works pretty good, but the only thing you have to keep in mind is that you have to long press the forward button before the voice assistant will activate. Overall, the KM30 is pretty good, and it is probably the best overall FM transmitter package we have tested. While we think that the KM18 has slightly better sound, it still is good enough, and to be honest, if we weren't testing it back to back, we probably wouldn't have noticed a difference. The controls make it probably the best user experience as well, and the screen can be handy to see what's playing. If you want to keep up with any future reviews, make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.